William, as he said, has muted everybody apart from the speakers and me. And it's your choice whether to keep your video on or off. I know sometimes there are broadband bandwidth issues, but that's your choice. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. For those of you familiar with Zoom, if you go into the toolbar, which is at the bottom of my screen, the chat function, you can just type in any questions that you may have. But the process today is that we're going to hear in turn from James, Dave and Ian, just to talk through their particular story, some of which has been aired in the company lockdown blog. It's had a range of stories, activity and support, from the fiendishly clever but actually impossible livery company quiz, if anyone's tried that, to photographs illustrating some of the more pleasurable activities that members have been up to in the last 2 months, of which gardens and wildlife seem to feature very strongly. I know lots of stationer friends doing things like sewing scrub bags and scrubs for their local community, delivering supplies, lots of other activities. And as we take those baby steps that the PM talked about on Sunday, the 3 businesses we're talking to today have all played their part over the last 7 to 8 weeks and must be readying themselves for the next stage of opening up. So I'm going to chat in turn to James. In conversation with me, in case you don't know them, are Liverman James Duckenfield. He's Chief Executive Officer of the Hob Group. We've got our corporate member, Dave Jones, Group Marketing Director for Premier Paper Group Limited, and Ian Bullock, Freeman Ian Bullock, Managing Director of Wren's UK Limited. Ian had his Freeman ceremony just on the 16th of March, so I think he must be one of our newer Freeman. He got in just before the lockdown. But what I'm going to do is chat for about 8 to 10 minutes with each of the speakers and then open it up more generally. And I'll be keeping an eye on the chat log if anybody has any questions. And we certainly won't go beyond our 45 minutes allotted time span. So I'm going to start with James. I'm just looking for you on my tile here so that I can wave at me.
I'm here.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. I've got so many tiles on my screen. So James, lots happened since the middle of March. You've been sharing some of it on the lockdown blog and that brilliant video that you did. But can you talk us through what lockdown initially meant to you and the Hob Group and your thinking behind some of the response to the initiatives that you've been airing for us?
Yeah, so we have 3 businesses in the group, and we have a legal support services business that prepares data for court and does quite a lot of legal investigations for public inquiries and investigations for HMRC. And that business has actually seen an uptick in business, which is a very different story to the rest of the group. So almost like some kind of step function, our printing business, Hobbs Repro, saw a massive reduction in work, and we've furloughed a majority of our staff, and we've mothballed some of our sites. So not such a happy outcome. But in the printing business, we've been helping with the COVID response by helping to print signage and registration forms for the test centres around the country. So we've helped to set up at least 35 new test centres. We've helped with Nightingale hospitals. As we've seen a dramatic reduction in our usual work, particularly with construction companies, architects, engineers, we tried to make that up with direct work with the NHS and the NHS's consultants like Deloitte. And we've put some of our equipment to work in the printing business to create visors. So we've created a nicely designed visor using appropriate materials, which we cut out on our CNC cutters, which we normally use for making bespoke packaging. We're now making visors and have sold thousands of visors to to the NHS, to care homes, and to construction companies who are preparing to go back to work and reopen sites. About the construction sector has been hit quite hard, about 70% down in the quarter, and we've seen a knock-on effect on us. We also have a 3D printing business, and that business is bringing some very clever stuff around prototype PPE equipment, and the legislation allows you under humanitarian grounds to create non-approved equipment to help out in the circumstances of a crisis. So we've been working with some NHS trusts like the Royal Berkshire, for example, where we've produced a 3D printed respirator valve, which allows you to put 2 patients on one respirator. And we've done 3D printed visors. So the 3D business has probably been affected half as much as the print business in terms of downturn. And the work we've been doing to help with the war effort, if you like, has helped make up some of the difference.
What was the I suppose the catalyst for this? Was it you thinking about it? Was it members of your team coming to you with ideas, or was it galvanizing? What can we do that's active and proactive? How did you get this started?
Yeah, so some of it was our customers who knew of us coming to us and asking us for help, and I would say most of it was us putting our collective thinking caps on and proactively going out to people we thought could use the kind of things that we can do, and trying to make up lost ground. Because despite the activity that we've done during COVID, it nowhere near makes up for the reduction in business that we've seen.
No. And how have your sort of staff and your teams reacted to it? Are some feeling very involved and others feeling left out? Was it difficult to decide who was going to get involved in this?
Yeah, so we've actually had a rolling furlough program so that we don't leave people on furlough for too long, that they're off for 3 weeks and then come back for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Most of our sites are on a 2-phase rotation. One of our sites is on a 3-phase rotation. But we've tried to keep people involved in the business. It's been really hard for the people who are in the business, because they've had to work as hard, if not harder than normal, and they get less business than they would do normally. So it's been very tough for the people who remain in the business, very frustrating. But actually the inter-branch spirit that has built within the business during this time has been really encouraging and lovely. And I think the team spirit is, albeit that people are a bit low because they don't want to be cooped up, they can't go to the restaurants or a pub or enjoy themselves to the same extent, and lots of them have had to cancel their holidays. I think the team spirit is up, even if people are probably feeling a bit low because of the restrictions on their personal liberties.
Yeah, I think that element of supporting the community in some shape or form has been part of the sanity, hasn't it, of all of our approaches. Looking back over the last 7 to 8 weeks, because obviously you must be gearing up for the future, would you do anything differently? Did you learn anything from it that you would do differently? Heaven forfend that this ever happens to us again, but.
It's a good question. I think perhaps we, from an economic perspective, probably would have started the furlough process a bit more quickly, but I think we didn't know quite how sharply it was going to fall off. So we tried to do it in a considered way. We didn't sort of dilly-dally, but we tried to do it in a considered way that did the least damage to the business. but I think that there's no question that it will, this pandemic will have done lasting damage to the print industry in particular, and certainly to our business. It will take us probably a year and a half, I would suggest, to get back to normal.
And you must be starting to think about the getting back to work under more normal conditions. What do you see happening for the Hob Group over the next 3 to 4 weeks, I suppose, when we come out of this stage?
Yeah, so we saw our low point about just over 3 weeks ago. So we've been tracking business activity at a pretty, compared to normal, a pretty microscopic level. So each day we're looking at order counts, we're looking at how many customers are spending with us. We're doing week-on-week comparisons, and we have seen a small but steady improvements in business over the last 3 weeks. Yesterday was our best day probably for 7 weeks. So we did see, I don't know whether it was just a blip, but we'll see. I have a 5:45 meeting with the management team every evening. But we did have a really good day yesterday in the print business. So I think we are seeing those a genuine improvement to business. And as we go through the various different steps that the Prime Minister laid out, we will see, just as we saw a step function down, I think we will see a step function up. But where we end up afterwards will remain to be seen.
Well, that's sort of positive note. We're all getting very used to statistics, and I think that's quite good news if it was yesterday, because there's always this sort of drop, isn't there, after the weekends. I'm learning that by being an amateur statistician. Thank you, James, for that slightly optimistic note there, and really thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to pass over to Dave now. Welcome, Dave. Premier Paper was already a key supply chain partner to the NHS, as we've been learning from some of the stuff. So in the same way, can you talk through what it initially meant to you and to your role at Premier Paper, and how you've responded?
Well, I think the underlying business dropped off very quickly and drastically. Of course, as you mentioned, the NHS is our single largest customer, but we have other customers, particularly print customers, who print for government, print for the NHS and that type of organisation, where they were most concerned that their supply of materials was continuing, and in particular the supply of materials from European manufacturers, and a lot of work has been done by us to ensure that supply chain has been maintained. Surprisingly, a lot of the products that's coming from Europe has been relatively unaffected by this crisis. It seems that a lot of European countries have had a social lockdown, but commerce and business continues, I won't say to normal levels, but certainly to a greater level than it appears to have done in the UK. As James mentioned, the print side of the business has been impacted significantly. Printers make up something like 60% of our customer base. So you can imagine that the drop-off in volumes has been significant. Our reaction to that has been to act very, very quickly. We were doing some scenario planning. We use scenarios very much in our business. Ask ourselves what if, ask all those sort of questions. We find them very, very powerful. It gives us a few options as we move forward. So we try not to be to manage by surprise, really. But I think that's allowed us to act very quickly. We reduced costs wherever possible. We furloughed quite a proportion of our people. I think it's up to about 55% of our 450 people that we employ now. So yeah, painful, difficult, but we were able to get some insight from sister companies within our group now, which operate not only in Europe but around the world, and try and gauge what was happening over there, and then to build our situation into a time frame. So we were able to say, well, we're probably 3 weeks behind Italy. What's happened in Italy, and plan accordingly. So that's yeah, that's been our experience. I think it's been. I think for most businesses, a lot of business, it's been it's a very difficult time, and whether we and how we come out of this is another difficult question, really. I was just looking at some figures this morning, and in particular, I was looking at the travel industry. Travel industry are big consumers of coated paper. So if nothing's being printed, we're not selling coated paper, and yeah, that reflects in our figures, particularly for coated. We're seeing other areas, other products where the decline has not been so drastic, and in fact, demand has outstripped our ability to supply some products, which is yeah.
I noticed on the news items over the last couple of days, particularly talking about the construction industry gearing up to get back to work, and they showed lots of shots of construction sites. Somebody somewhere is printing all those emergency labels, 2 weeks apart, and the high-vis jackets with the special print about stay safe on there. So in a slightly bizarre way, there has clearly been a slight diversion of resources. So someone somewhere is doing that, because we were thinking, I wonder where they get all those stickers and those posters from.
Yeah, well, strange enough, our label and self-adhesive sales are above where we expected them to be for the time of year. Some of our display products, such as floor graphics, we have sold out of our usual range, and we're now and we've now introduced other ranges to meet demand. Social distancing things on the floor and signage and that type of thing. That's quite buoyant, as is packaging. That's doing quite well as well. But our core products of coated and uncoated papers have been hit significantly. So we're fortunate to have a sort of a wide breadth of products and different divisions within our company, let alone within the larger group. That makes us a little bit more resilient to market forces, but still, it's a significant impact on our business.
Yeah. On the softer side, as I asked James, there's a real responsibility, isn't there, on anybody at an executive level to keep the people involved and feeling part of that sort of community response, and not just thinking about, I suppose, how secure their job is or when they get back to work. Has the sort of initiatives that you've done, particularly some of the more overt support for visors and things like that for the NHS, has that helped in internal communications and keeping that sort of bonding, that sort of team community spirit up?
Yeah, I think it has. I was even having conversations on Friday. The bank holiday with some of our people who are furloughed, just phoning up and saying some of the initiatives we've been doing has been great. It's good to see. It's great to be involved, even at a distance, and they can't wait to get back to work. And so I think every little bit of contact helps. My own particular team, and I know other sort of managers within the organisation are doing this as well, are keeping in regular social contact with their teams through the telephone or through Skype or through Zoom, just to make sure everybody feels still part of the organisation. And one of the things that you asked James about, would you have now done anything better? Sorry, I've just preempted your question there. But, but one thing that going back, I think would have been useful, which James has done with his company, which we haven't done, is having a rolling furlough scheme. We work with very closely with the Woodland Trust as a charity. They also have a rolling furlough scheme where they have 3 weeks furloughed and 3 weeks back in the organisation. I think there are parts of the organisation where we should have and could have done that, and that would have been useful for us. But generally, we work hard at keeping in contact with our people within the rules of the furlough system.
I know that working with clients for me personally, that I think that rolling furlough point is a really well made point, because also you're trying to work with organisations where suddenly, in a slight panic, I work with quite a lot of charities, for example, and they just furloughed all their staff immediately, and then of course realised that they needed some of them. So I think there was, it wasn't part of their business continuity planning, and I think this furlough idea is going to be built in, isn't it? But one question I would just ask you in closing, Dave, before I hand over to Ian, is what about you personally? What have you learned from it, you know, in trying to manage your responsibilities? Has it been a challenge for you?
Yeah, of course it certainly has been a challenge, but I think there are a lot of things that you can learn, that we can all learn from this as well. You know, I think as we open up, or as the economy opens up again, I think that business will be done slightly differently. We'll approach things in a slightly different way, I'm sure. There are, you know, there are things that we have to put in place to safeguard our employees when they do return to work. So also, it begs a question that, you know, can we work differently? Can we have more people working more at home? And would that benefit them in other ways as well? You know, rather than having them commute to offices, is there a work-life balance that can be achieved by having more home working rather than spending half your life in the car or on a train?
I know.
So,
I know. Yeah. I mean, I think we've all got different family stories, but I've got both my children are key workers, and they've been having to travel in on the tube into London. And this week they're getting quite concerned because they have been able to socially distance, and their employers have insisted on them wearing face coverings. And in fact, one of them has had COVID-19, the other hasn't. And they were starting to get concerned. So I think that idea of what can you do at a distance but still be connected is a big learning for all of us, isn't it?
Yeah. What can you do differently? What can you do better?
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you. Optimistic note. So Ian, I mentioned in introducing you that you just crept in, didn't you, under the wire, and we welcome you as a freeman to the company. So I suppose for you, that your relationship actually you did provide PPE as a core part of your business, I understand. Is that right?
Well, we didn't 8 weeks ago. No, we do now. And it's no. We absolutely live in the office products industry and the printing industry. That's where we live. So I'll come on to the PPE in a minute. But
yeah,
I think it's really interesting to see, just to put a timeline on how quickly these last 8 weeks have gone and how so much has changed for us all. You know, it's only 8 weeks ago I got back from skiing on that Saturday. I think it was about the 14th of March, and with the exception of one incident with a hotelier out there that I know very well, where I put my hand out to shake his hand and he jumped back, that was about as aware, you know, of the crisis as I was 9 weeks ago. And as you say, on the Monday the 16th, I got the train up into town to Stationers. Completely empty carriage, empty train. Really, probably we shouldn't have all been at Stationers on that Monday the 16th. And then during the course of that week, I spent most of the week realizing that I needed to get everybody home and working from home and set up well from home. So purchasing laptops, etc., etc. By the Friday the 19th, I think it was, I pretty much got everybody that could work from home working from home. And that was a difficult, really. Many people, even then, weren't keen on the idea particularly. It was just things were happening so quickly. But then on the following Monday, when Boris announced the shutdown, of course, I had to insist that you must now all work from home. You've all been set up. So, you know, within a week there, there was a complete sea change in the way the company worked. And then, of course, during that next week, that first week of shutdown, it became apparent that the sales order intake was dropping. And so by the 1st of April, I'd actually furloughed 50% of the staff at Wren's. So within 7 or 8 days of that, the lockdown commencing. And actually, like James said, retrospectively now, I could have furloughed many more, but it was all happening so quickly, and you're trying to do the best for your staff, etc., etc., etc. It was uncharted ground. So from there, now we're 75% furloughed this month, and that's where we are. And our turnover, our sales order intake now, it was down we were down really to just 20% of our historical, the last 7 weeks, if you take this 7 weeks against the 7 weeks last year. But it has climbed slightly now. So just before Easter, going to the PPE thing, there was this whole outcry around about the shortage. And of course, we have manufacturing facility that was no longer manufacturing binding machines and all the things that we traditionally manufacture. So we got into the manufacture of, as did many others, face shields, good quality German face shields. We quickly got them EN certified, which was critical. So within a 2-week period, we decided we were going to do it. We manufactured them, we got them EN certified. And by 2 weeks ago, we'd sold our 200,000th protective face visor.
Yeah.
Not so much into the health service, I have to be honest. That was the catalyst, that PPE shortage. But the reality of it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, people were already thinking about how are we going to bring people back into the workplace. And that is where the majority of our sales of these visors go. And it's been very successful. If you put it into perspective, we are 30% of our turnover now is in these visors. So that's business that we hadn't even considered 8 weeks ago. We're still a long way short of where we want to be. But without this new business, we'd be in even more of a pickle, because the traditional business from the printing industry and the office products industry is pretty much negligible, you know.
Yeah. And Dave mentioned, I suppose, geography, seeing what was happening in other parts of the group and internationally. Has that been a help for you to be able to see what's been going on in Italy and Germany and Spain? Yeah,
it has. It's interesting, really, because exactly as Dave said, getting goods here is no problem at all. It hasn't been a problem at all from Germany. Our parent company is in Stuttgart, so I can bring up trucks from Stuttgart very quickly because the roads are empty. So that's been much easier. There really is no problem on getting, provided the people you're buying from have got the stock in the first place.
Yeah.
But the actual route up is not a problem. The German market, bear in mind, they operate exactly as we do in the office products and the print sector, are seeing exactly the same as us. They're just about 25% of their historical levels. I mean, we have climbed in the last 2 weeks. We have seen this small growth from only having 20% of our historical turnover up to about 25% now. So there is a slight, as James I think said, there is a slight increase, but of course much of that increase in our group is on our protective face shields.
Although it seems that there's going to be a demand for those for a long time to come. And as I asked the others, the softer side of keeping your teams, your staff, your employees engaged and involved. Have you got any experience that you can share with us about what you've done for that?
Well, I had to do something because, of course, we are in a new business, and many of the staff that are no longer here or that are furloughed, I mean, we did operate a rolling, certainly for our warehouse staff. Anybody in that situation, we did a 3-week rolling furlough, which is a good thing because it keeps everybody involved. But of course, there are some people that are stuck at home and knowing that the company that they worked for just 8 weeks ago are now operating in a different, you know, much of the product is something they didn't even know about 8 weeks. So I send out just a weekly mail to everybody, just giving them an update. Unfortunately, it's kind of been tough putting any positive news in that. That's been the tough thing. You know, you don't want to make the situation worse for people, but it is certainly important to try and keep in touch and try and put as positive an edge on it as possible, really.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? You know, there've been so many of these social media challenges and you know, share a poem type events going on that they can be they overlap a lot. But I was challenged a week ago by a friend to do this my life in 7 days, you know, a picture for every day. And it was new to me, and I've challenged a few people and they've already done it sort of back at the beginning of March. But I found that quite cathartic, because in a way it just reminded you about what your working, you know, a 7-day week meant. You know, it might be gardening, it might be cooking, it might be sitting stone to Zoom screen. And I found that quite reassuring, really, because everybody else's pictures were very similar. I mean, occasionally there's a sort of a bike or something like that involved in it. And in a way, I thought these were like a little collage, really, of what life is now for those of us operating from home and missing that sort of social contact. But very important for staff to feel engaged. And I think that's why so much of it is pictorial. I mean, even the stationer's site has got members' photographs on it, and they tend to be quite relaxing photos, don't they? They're not them going about their everyday business. So it's important for people to feel involved, I think. But what about you personally? How have you responded, Ian? I mean, there are, as Dave and was saying, there are challenges anyway. The responsibility that you feel to all the people that you're looking after, as it were, in that corporate sense. How have you reacted, and what have you learned about this process?
It does certainly weigh heavily on your shoulders, because you know, and probably the other two that have spoken know, that you know, there are worse things coming soon. You know, it's this furlough scheme is really, I'm absolutely certain, well, I know that many companies, it's only really putting off the inevitable for a lot of people, and that's why I think the Chancellor will be pulling back on it today, really. I found it tough, you know, because we have a good company spirit here. We all and people that have been with us many years haven't been working for a long time. Will they ever really be coming back? It's a tough one. So it's been it's a strain on me, I would say. Yes.
Yeah. Well, just by chance, we have one of our members from the USA, Tyler Carey, on the line. So, William, I don't know if Tyler's there still, but if you could unmute him. Tyler, it'd be very interesting just to hear your perspective, because we've been talking about the UK, but just to see what you feel has been happening on the other side of the water.
Hold on, Tyler. There you go. You're unmuted now.
Tyler,
Great.
please.
Hi, Carol. Thanks.
Hi.
Yeah, things have been, remarkably similar to everything that everybody's been sharing here. A lot of our clients are in the trade, academic, and university press space, where we edit and typeset their books. The types of things that we're seeing are certainly key releases for clients being pushed back, much as they're in the UK trade space right now. Children's book sales are very much up, while sales on a lot of other types of titles seem to be down. Within the companies themselves that we work with, a number of kind of the younger, more nimble companies have started as distributed workforces, so it's been less disruptive for them as much as it has been for a lot of the organizations that, like Westchester are, over 50 years old and have a lot of very brick and mortar offices. We got a head start moving our staff to working from home, both here and in India. In India, we've been affected by the monsoons in the past, so we had protocols in place to move a lot of workers to work from home. But certainly the scale that we did with hundreds of workers all at once this time was definitely a bigger change than we've done in the past. The competitive landscape, what we saw in India, not just within our own specific slice of the industry, but as a lot of companies moved to try to get their workers to work from home, there were issues with renting computers, access to internet access, not in the sense of it being up or down, but just if home offices had not been wired for high-speed internet as opposed to typical consumer internet, there just weren't enough workers in some cities in India to wire all the home offices that needed to be set up quickly. So those were challenges that we were dealing with on the vendor and supply side. On our client side, as I said, some of the kind of more established companies, it's harder to turn a large organization than it is a small one. So we've certainly seen some publishers switch to furlough models while they've adapted. The volume of work that a lot of publishers in the States seem to be doing seems to be picking up based on the incoming work that's assigned to us as one of the vendors that's kind of on the tail end of their supply chain. But certainly a lot of what I see in the bookseller that I read every morning documenting the UK publishing industry mirrors a lot of what we're still seeing in the US with just everybody trying to adapt to what the new normal is going to look like and what timetables are going to look like.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tyler. That's interesting perspective from the other side. I think it just remains for me to say thank you to our speakers, to James, Dave and Ian, and Tyler for jumping in there as well at my request. I was reading today about some research, and actually the new word that we're all going to get used to is being a pivoter, pivoting. So just in terms of grabbing innovative opportunities to look at other ways of doing business. And as Ian said, suddenly to take up quite an important share of your, even if it's dragged down, your new business, it is about branching into new areas. And that there is this feeling, probably slightly optimistically, that the pandemic is going to lead to a wave of innovation as we all pivot to do different things. I'm not sure I can pivot too much, but it's very reminding me that necessity is the mother of invention. Do fall down on some of these expressions. This was the first of our little Zoom talks. The industry committee was devastated to lose 3 events that were already being advertised and were massively being affected by people's uncertainty about travelling into London. We hope that these are postponed, not cancelled, because a lot of work goes in from some of the people on this call as well who've really helped galvanise these events. The times are uncertain, but we call this one Rising to the Challenge Mark 1 because we have got a Mark 2 in preparation. So we do hope some of you will, if you've enjoyed this opportunity to have a conversation with colleagues and members and friends, that you will join us for the next one over the next few weeks. That would be brilliant. So that just remains me to say thank you to our speakers and goodbye to everybody, and leave William to close us all down.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Carol. That was very kind. Wonderful webinar, and I enjoyed it enormously. And we'll hopefully see everyone again at the next one. So until then, I shall now close the session, and thank you all for attending.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.